Sticking with looks, we're going to go on to the rear lights. We've got Leo Coolix says, isn't the removal of the rear light confusing or makes you less visible? And Mr. Commuter says, why did they remove the tail light and incorporate it in the blinkers? Is it really safe to ride on the road? Decent question.
Yeah, so like there's no central tail and brake light. It's effectively the two indicators are always on as the tail light, and they go obviously brighter red when you hit the brakes. But then when you put an indicator on, there's an orange part that flashes, and it doesn't like kill the tail light in that particular indicator, if you know what I mean. So they're still red, but it just has an extra orange part that's flashing. To me, it looks a little bit less visible than if you just had a tail light in the middle.
I would agree, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I say, I've seen that in cars and in bikes, and yeah, it's a surprising one for me, that, because usually with safety stuff, they tend to really restrict on that sort of stuff the other way round. Because you want to make it something like that, because for design language, it sort of sounds or looks or seems cool. But then actually when you get it on the road, you're like, it's less easy to see.
The KTM 1390 Super Duke has it as standard as well. Quite often these like features have been available as kits, like the Bonnevilles. Some of those you could get a tail light delete for like the Speed Twin and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's available as an upgrade, or has been on the GS for a while as well. But as standard, it gets them now. And yeah, so there's that concern about visibility of the indicator, which I'd imagine they've tested it and it's legal, and in their tests it's safe, because otherwise why would they do it? But just as a rider, you want full confidence that no one's going to shunt you from behind, or misinterpret which way you're turning, and that just looks less clear than a tail light in the middle, and then the indicator at either side of it, relative to that tail light in the middle, kind of shows you which direction you're going. The other side of it, mate, I don't know if you ever saw that Fortnite video about Teslas and how they stopped using LiDAR, which is the same kind of like distance sensor sort of tech. I mean, that's oversimplified. It's kind of like it's not a radar, but it gets a picture of what your distance around you. Stopped using that and just went over to using cameras which do entity recognition. And I think deaths of bikers in the US from Teslas on autopilot were like suspiciously high, and the bikes that were shunted from behind were bikes that had two taillights. So some of the Harleys, for example, have the same thing, the integrated taillights. And I think the theory was that looks like a car that's way off in the distance because they're quite close together and small.
Yes.
But actually it's a motorcycle that's very, very close to you. And so that's why the car didn't know to stop. If it had LiDAR, it would probably know that that's a vehicle at a certain distance, right? And so I don't know if that issue has been solved either, but it just seems like another thing that makes this feel a bit less safe. But like I say, it'd be crazy for a manufacturer like BMW to not have checked that out properly.
Yeah, which is why it's surprising it's on theirs, because this is more, I want to say, sort of custom scene, right? But doing that, it's a design
You feel like it's a visual thing.
A practicality choice, right? It's a visual. It has to be just in the design language. Like, designer, if you're making the concept for a bike, that's the sort of thing you make in the concept, and then it gets stamped out as it gets more practical, closer to production. So, yeah, surprising.
I wonder if it's also like...
But if you think they look visible... I mean, what was your opinion? You did look at them.
Well, I didn't ride behind myself at night, but when I put the indicator on, I was kind of surprised it didn't just like kill the tail light in that indicator. I guess it can't do that, but I was surprised it maybe didn't. I don't know. And I wonder if there's other kind of concerns that go into it, like, or sorry, not concerns, but factors that feed into that design, like... Let's say you slim out the tail section of your bike significantly to give it more of that modern off-roady look, which BMW did, but you've still got to fit a luggage rack on top and then also find a place just beneath it for a new rear-facing radar for the bikes that have blind spots. Is it easy to kind of package all that stuff without a tail light and just move them to either side? But that wouldn't answer for the KTM 1390 Super Duke, for example, which is meant to be just a clean, sort of svelte-looking super naked. I would say as well, like the tail light can be a real standout design feature of a bike, you can almost recognize immediately certain bikes. Like I'm thinking of the SV650 with those two sticks of LEDs. That was like a really distinctive look. And you could probably say the same for like the Moto Guzzi's at the moment, like the V85 TT and the Stelvio, where they've got those jet fighter style twin.
Yeah, really nice.
And the Diavel V4, remember, with the kind of, it almost looks like a Spider-Man, like some kind of weird pattern like that. It can be a really positive thing for the looks of a bike. So if you can do that and also make it feel safer to the rider, despite whatever their testing says, I'd rather go that way personally.
I think I agree.